Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Med Legal Green Room. I am Sam Frentzas, co-founder of the Driving Force Company. And I'm really, really excited here to have a now I can say old friend, since we had lunch together in 2014 and have built this friendship. I'd like to introduce Gene Kelly from Kelly Family Vineyards, an award-winning vineyard, by the way, and winery in Napa Valley. And beyond wine, and I know, Gene, I'm always going to make the same joke. If you want to make a little money in the vineyard business, start with a lot of money. But Gene, you're a serial entrepreneur. And look,
Yes.
you open up the picture in the dictionary, serial entrepreneur, and we're all going to see your picture there. But you're an educator, you're a published author, you're the CEO of the Accelerated Training Institute, which I think is
Right.
absolutely amazing, especially challenging the way trade skills are taught today. And your diverse background. I mean, you're a licensed seven contractor, which you'll explain. You're a classically trained certified gunsmither, right? You don't
Right.
hear that too often. But the other side of it, what you know in your direct marketing, and you're a board certified protection professional. Not many people can say that, along with your work internationally in the security consulting business and trainer in high risk environments, especially in international security and defense systems. Now, that's a bit of a mouthful to state. So, welcome. I know I'm going to pick your brain and your business expertise because we always say get somebody that's outside of your business and learn and bring it into your business. So welcome,
Absolutely.
welcome to the Med Legal Green Room. Glad we're able to do this.
Well,
I'll get
Sam,
going.
you're spot on. One of the things that I have enjoyed doing in my career is having vertical careers. And what helps is being able to cross over with some of those ideas from one industry to another and use them as points of acceleration. It's been phenomenal for me. It's helped a lot of the people I've consulted with, helped me to grow, develop a lot of my own businesses. And I'll kind of flesh in a little bit what you talked about there. Yeah, since 1986, I've worked with an Israeli firm, consulting with them internationally in South America, South Africa, over in the Middle East, in Central America, down in Brazil, here in the U.S., so on. And that's been on helping companies address issues that provide them a lot of exposure when they're creating or building out a new facility somewhere in the world, maybe investing in another firm, buying another company. They need to understand the political and physical risk. I can address that. But what's interesting is the concepts I learned all the way back then about multiple rings of security. And in parallel, I was learning marketing from guys like Dan Kennedy and others that you would know all the names. But these actually cross over at different points because they're a way of looking at things, seeing solutions, seeing points of constraint. That's something I'm very good at, is looking at a flow. And in fact, in our firearms background, you talked about, we teach what we call design, function, and repair, DF&R. You can't fix something unless you understand how it works. Well, I look at businesses the same way, whether it be a business process that is utilizing direct response marketing, or whether it's a manufacturing flow, which I've owned a manufacturing company in the past, and or even what you're doing in some of the medical areas, looking at people's businesses and trying to understand where their constraints are, both constraints of time, cash flow, uh, profitability, etc. So I apply all these different things that I've been in a unique position to learn and to do over these years. And then, of course, you mentioned the winery, which is fun. I live on my vineyard in the Napa Valley. It is a total lifestyle choice. Um, it allows us to make some phenomenal wine. This is our uh, Kelly Family Vineyards wine. It's a double gold winning wine, been written up and given a double gold by the San Francisco Chronicle, by Sunset Magazine, by others. I just had a tasting the other night and they were like, dude, you got to get this in front of everybody because this is 100-point stuff. So I have all that fun and experience, and I use a lot of those same marketing techniques and or thought process to try and find those points of constraint and break them up. And of course, we can talk about a lot more, but that's a little bit of an intro response to you.
No, and I appreciate it because I want to get into autonomy. And before I do that,
Ah,
I want to like when we always in our mastermind groups or if we ever meet up at an event is walk away with a nugget of information. You can't take everything away.
mhm.
So before we get into autonomy that I want to talk about, I want to dig now and get that one nugget of information because I know we did an event together. We had Marcus Lemonis from CNBC's The
Oh
Profit
yeah.
there, and he was wildly impressed with you, not with me. So we had some fun there. But about recurring revenue.
Absolutely.
So I want you to put some
Well,
insight on recurring revenue.
well,
Um,
here's one of the things I see with I've worked with you for a long time, Sam, and I understand I've been watching the evolution of what you're doing now, which is like awesome, and talk about filling a niche and a need. But what I think is important for anybody that's looking at this investing in this technology or that is working in this field, there's one of the major I was talking about constraints, right? One of the major constraints you have is time. And you can, no matter how much you can only charge so much because you're limited by your time. It's very frustrating. And then you have, okay, if you have a leverage of staff, that's awesome. That's a point of leverage, but it still doesn't really set you free. And when you have something like what you're doing that is a mechanical process and can be built into a marketing funnel, it's huge leverage because you're totally decoupling time from revenue. And that's what got me excited about what you do. And I've been a big cheerleader on this all along. Um, so I think that, I mean, I think Warren Buffett did say it. I know others have said it. And that is if you can't figure out how to make money when you sleep, you're going to die tired. Okay. And I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. You have to be taking the revenue, the profits, and taking them and not just blowing them on lifestyle or something. There's a place for that, but to take that and to plug it into something that gives you reoccurring revenue. Now, there's a dozens of different models for that,
yeah.
but within a company itself, I mean, this is only a couple degrees of separation from the actual work that they're doing anyway in as physicians. So that makes a ton of sense to me. But reoccurring revenue is in something that's leveraged that you don't have to do yourself is to me, that's what we're going for. And that's a lot of what I'm investing in personally.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. So that's putting out there. Now I want to get into autonomy because again, I've been there from the beginning because I think this is the coolest thing. And now you have, as I'm bringing it up here, autonomy
Yeah.
wine. I always
Yep.
keep a bottle close, especially in the office.
Right.
And keep re-hitting the stock. So I want to talk about autonomy, your definition of autonomy,
Right.
um, before we dig in, and really how to become autonomous. Um,
So let me say this. First off, I believe that as Americans, we're in a real unique place in the world if we don't let it slip away from us. We were guaranteed through the Constitution, through the Bill of Rights, we were guaranteed the right to be autonomous, right? The right to pursue happiness, not guaranteed happiness, pursue it. And part of that is you have to be autonomous. You can't be totally, chained up to be able to pursue that happiness and to pursue that liberty. And so let me define, autonomy itself. Autonomy, technically, is the ability to do what you want without actually hurting anyone else or breaking any of your own rules, moral codes. I make it even simpler. I say autonomy is the ability to say yes to what you want to say yes to and no to what you don't want to do. And if you look over your life, last week, last month, last year, people have to ask themselves, how much did I get to say yes to what I want to do? And how much did I get to say no to what I didn't want to do? And oftentimes it's flipped. We have to say yes to a lot of stuff we don't want to do, and we're having to say no to things we want to do. wrong equation, guys. So we need to turn this around. And that is really what, when I started Autonomy, that's what it was all about. And I was actually in a conversation with Adam Whitty, publisher of Advantage Media and Forbes Books, and we were having this conversation because one of my books was published through them, The College Myth, and we can talk about that if you want, and about the trade schools along the way. But we were having this conversation; it was being videoed, and I was talking about how on my vineyard, when I gave a bottle of my wine to someone, it changed everything in the relationship because for thousands of years, people have been breaking bread together and sharing wine. And it is a bonding moment. And it is at a higher level. And when people get my wine and they are like, wow, that's your wine, and they enjoy it, and it's of course, ultra premium, it positions me differently than everybody else. And positioning is a big part of autonomy. If you want to be autonomous, you have to be seen in a certain way. It may not all even be 100%, true in every aspect of what they think, but your positioning, and you also need to be. Been a couple of great books written on this, and that is being fascinating. Fascination and autonomous positioning is magnetically attractive to people. And people are who spend money with you, with your companies, buy your services, and so on. And they have more trust. And so we're bridging that gap, utilizing wine. And funny thing is, some of my partners that I'm involved with, they don't even drink, but they use the wine as a bridge to build that trust and positioning, even though they don't drink alcohol. So I want to make sure everybody listening to this captures that idea. Autonomy is the ability to say yes to things you want to say yes to, no to the things you want to say no to. And to do that on the best level, you need to have revenue. And that means that you need to be positioned as fascinating, free, and autonomous so that you can actually even demand more for your service and so on. And people are willing to pay it. People always want to climb up to the man at the top of the mountain, not the guy at the bottom of the hill, right?
Yeah.
And so that is why positioning is important in any profession or any business. If it wasn't so, there wouldn't be billions of dollars spent on it every year in marketing and media. So it is a important component when you are personally looking at your autonomy profile and saying, am I moving closer to that position where I can say yes to what I want to say yes to? Or am I just actually getting myself more and more trapped? I mean, a lot of people have done this, Sam. They built a business that became their cage and they kind of gold plated it, right?
Yeah.
It's so successful. It looks so great. Crap, I'm trapped. And so I help people try and open that cage door, get the positioning right so they can still be golden, but not be trapped in that cage. And that's part of what my goal is with autonomy. And it's obviously a life passion for me, right? Because I believe in this whole ability to be free, to make our own choices in this country, to be rewarded for what we do, right? There's no sin there. That's not wrong. Be
No.
rewarded and the more you're rewarded, if you choose to share that, you can, but you're not forced to. Be autonomous. And then when you do share, it's out of the heart and it's all the better. And so I believe very much in sharing, taking care of things that I believe in, and so on. But I can't do that if I'm not autonomous and achieving my highest and best use of my time and my life. So anyway, that's autonomy. That's why I'm passionate about it. And I invite people to join me in that whole movement of becoming more autonomous.
No, look, you even created an event around autonomy. I've been an autonomy partner. As I say, I show off my wine when we
Yep.
launch a new client. We like showing up. I bring a bottle of Autonomy wine, and be there in person. I think it's a really big
Well,
deal.
well, and
And
that
I'm Greek. You
positions
can't show
you.
up empty-handed on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether you're going out to dinner with somebody and you're sharing your wine, your partner wine with the discussion of autonomy, or if you're showing it up with it as a gift, or if you're using it as a client retention tool, or relationship building in whichever way with whoever you want, because frankly, it builds relationships not with just with clients, customers, uh, and prospects, but also with your peers because they don't have this. And
Yeah.
it's they're like, wow, okay. And so there's just a wonderful synergy here. And then, of course, because we attract like-minded people that want to find that one additional nugget, when we meet together in these mastermind type environments, there's the ideas are smoking. And I have just been told that by people that are very experienced in masterminds that they walk away going, wow, that was different. That was better. And they've got something really to work with. I even created the autonomy roadmap, of which you're well aware.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've been there from the beginning. I've been an autonomy partner, been to the events
right?
every year. It's kind of nice when they're in Napa Valley and not,
Yeah.
Sheboygan, Iowa. So it makes a little difference, and yeah, it grows every year. Because
You
it's
say that, it's funny because one of the things I tell people, I say, look, this is the one event, the one seminar, the one mastermind meeting that your spouses actually want to go with you, right?
That's for
Not
sure.
like, oh, you're going to some of the places you said, like, I've been to a few of those armpit places that are no fun. But coming here is fun. It's lifestyle. It's and when we do the events, we're very lifestyle oriented as far as food, the wine, the location, all of that. But anyway, they're on top of that. They're really productive from the standpoint it helps to refocus you on that. Am I getting more and more free? Am I becoming more and more autonomous? What could I change? Oftentimes, there's one or two levers in a business. As they say, little hinges swing big doors. You just need to find the right hinge. And so oftentimes that's discovered in a group, especially when you have a group of people that are all in on helping each other. They're not like, oh, can I get a cut of this or can I get a slice of that? They're like, no, how can I help you? And then it goes back and forth too. I'm not going to get into all the stories of it, but there's been a lot of things where people have launched businesses, launched joint ventures, um, have solved the problem for somebody else that's really severe to them, and yet it was easy for the partner to do. Um, by the way, just I got to mention this. We require everybody be a accredited investor to even come to these because there's so many deals that are done or opportunities, and it's not like we're not putting them up there. They just happen.
Yeah.
And you've got some stories about that.
Yeah.
But the accredited investor just means that you have a combined household income of a minimum of 300,000 a year and $1 million net worth. And I will tell you, pretty much everybody in the room is well beyond that, multimillionaire, decamillionaire, beyond. So we have that requirement to even be in the room. And I mean, if they want more information on that, they can go to the autonomyevents.com, and you can put that up
Yeah, we'll
somewhere.
put
Let
the
them
link
know.
down there. Yeah, and
But
I've seen some amazing transformations over the years, as this evolution has grown. Last year was a lot of fun. In what transpired, some major transformations. 3 years ago, there was a major deal that included us. But that's what comes in there, as well. And I'll definitely put the link below. You can click it and I'd see. And I know, Gene, you never say no to me. So every time I ask, so what we're gonna do, what I'd like to do then is for anybody that wants to come, the first 10 that come in, they get a free guest pass.
well, there's
If
a
they want
thousand
to
bucks
attend,
right
so it'll
there,
be a
freebie,
special link, and for them. So I like to always do something. If I'm going to mention an event or mention something, And you're always generous, so I know you're not going to
Yeah,
say no.
well, okay, and we'll do that for your guys. But and you do twist my arm a lot. But luckily I'm autonomous enough I could say no, but I don't want to. I get to say yes.
Yes,
And
and I
that's actually
appreciate
kind
that.
of fun because yeah, I can say yes to that to help out some people to come because it's a life-changing event and it is like I said, it's fun, but it's not just fun. The goal is to sincerely try and help you break out of that golden cage, uh, go down the path you're looking for. And what another thing I want to make clear is my view of autonomy does not mean violating any of your core beliefs or principles. In fact, the opposite. I start with those um, and uh, and make sure that everything we're doing flows from that. And I literally created a roadmap
Yeah,
that we use, and then everybody has their own personal application of that because your path is different than my path. Some of your priorities are different than my priorities. There's commonalities for sure, but the roadmap keeps us in the lane, in the right lanes, and gives, one thing has to happen before the next thing, before the next thing. Remember, I talked about design, function, repair?
yeah, yep,
It's everywhere. It's like 80/20. 80
yep,
20 and it's fractional within 80/20 and so on and so on. Same with the design function, but you see it everywhere. There is a flow. There are certain things that need to happen before other things. And when there's a point of constraint, understanding that flow helps you identify it and resolve it. So, anyway,
yeah. And what I like about it too, and this is, I think this goes back to our Dan Kennedy years. It's you can't have all the same people in the same room all doing the same thing because then you're getting the same information. What I really like about it, so I know I'm in med legal, so we get the doctors and the lawyers. But when you have all these outside different businesses, and I saw this happen last year because I saw a doctor that wanted to sell his practice, couldn't sell it for what he thought it was worth, opened up his own, and you went to the recurring revenue, his own
right,
diagnostic center, then he wasn't caged in his practice anymore. He
right,
sold it, but then he had another business that's developing recurring revenue. But he got that from a business owner that
right,
is completely the opposite. Now we're talking med legal, but butcher, baker, candlestick maker, as you like to say once in
100%.
a while, got that information of how to be able to add that recurring revenue, get out of the time for dollars business, and you wouldn't have gotten that being in the same room with 20 other doctors because they
And-
all do. And I've been in the room
yeah,
with the same doctors or the same lawyers.
right.
We've done these kind of things, and you get the same information because that's the only
It's
road they look at.
right. It's inbred. It's too inbred.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing the same thing, looking around what everybody else is doing. Some of the folks listening to this may not know who Dan Kennedy is. If they don't, they should look him up, Google him. He is a very autonomous guy. He's been one of my mentors. I spent hours with him, actually, even interviewing him over autonomy. And this is a guy who all of his calls during the month are scheduled on one day. All of his communications, he requires people send him a fax. He does not do email. He does not have a cell phone, and the guy makes millions. Okay. And part of what he says is, I am doing them a favor because they have to actually think and put together their ideas, cohesively before they send them to me rather than just sending me a stupid, partially thought out email. And so they put their ideas together. He's very highly paid and worth every penny of it.
Yeah.
And then from there, I mean, he's taken companies that do direct response into the billions. So he's able to put all of his energy into his mind working on that constraint that I talked about because he isn't distracted by phone going beep, email going bong, all of this stuff. He's like this. And I've worked with him. When we filmed one of the times, we spent 4 hours straight just talking about autonomy and no interruptions, no nothing, just, us focused. And one of the things I want to loop back to is the recurring model. What I try to tell everybody, think about oil wells. Is this thing I'm going to do, this investment I'm going to make, or my business that I currently have, is it an oil well? What do you do with an oil well? Well, you spend a bunch of money maybe drilling it, putting in the hardware, but once it's good to go, it pumps away and
Yeah.
money comes out 24 freaking hours a day. Okay. And that's what you want to have. So figure out, how do you put oil wells in your business? And this is another thing we talk about at Autonomy because it's important. It's part of that freedom. It's so anyway, I'm beating on that a bit much, maybe, but
No,
I
it
really
is
think
good.
so critical because people get so stuck in their cage, and it's golden. They're doing good, but they're stuck in their cage and they're grinding it out. And unless they do something like what you've got going or some other oil well, how do they get the recurring revenue? How do they make money when they sleep, when they're on vacation, so on? Uh, and that's a big part of autonomy and a big part of that whole positioning strategy being fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah, and you go back and Dan Kennedy, I think, is really stranglehold the word positioning and what he does.
for sure.
Couldn't have a better example. Because every year it's like harder to get in his mastermind, costs more. The getting through that barrier,
Yeah.
from 10
He
years
keeps
ago.
narrowing down the access, narrowing down what he does, and yet he makes more money every year.
Yeah,
And he's actually, the services are worth more and more as he narrows down because he's able to help fewer people much better.
yeah,
So there's something to be said there too. I mean, if you're in a medical practice, for example, and you were able to reduce the number of patients, and I'm just going to throw a couple numbers out there, they're not real numbers, but you go from 1,000 to 100 with the same amount of time and the same revenue level, nothing else changed there, except you get to do a whole lot better job for those 100. So that's just one example of kind of doing what Dan's doing. There's a lot of other examples. Again, if you can do it without having, the same number of clients, customers, patients, and generate the same revenues, but you're not providing direct services to, that's that's equally better because now you have a broader footprint, therefore less risk. So there's a number of different ways to go about it, but you really have to go back to the roadmap, get to the core part, figure out where you are going from there. Then we can see which levers to pull and which things to pass on.
that's it. I appreciate that. So everybody, you're going to click the link below. You're going to go to autonomyevents.com. Click it on
Love
there.
to
The
see you
first
out here in
10,
Napa.
yeah, the first 10 are going to get a free spouse or free guest pass for the first 10. So you better be quick. And then enjoying everything that comes with Napa. And I know this year it's going to be at Napa Valley Country Club with every
Right.
high-end amenity,
Yep.
um, as it
Well,
always
and a
is.
few of the things I want to qualify a couple things too. One, if you decide this is something you want to do and come and join us for that event, one, you got to have, be desiring an autonomy mindset, right? Two, you got to come ready to share, to be open to building up your autonomy lifestyle, your fascination, your positioning, and you're going to enjoy yourself because you're going to be with a kind of group that you can enjoy yourself with. And then finally, again, I said qualified. You have to be qualified as that accredited investor or above. And then if you are qualified and desire to be one of us, then you have an opportunity to become an autonomy partner. It's a little bit different story, a little bit higher level thing, but I think Sam can attest it's life changing.
It,
So,
abs, I've been in it and been a partner from day one, so I can attest to that for sure. Gene, thank you so much
yep,
for sharing your wisdom, your insight, throwing out a little nugget about recurring revenue and autonomy.
for
Uh,
sure. It's true.
look forward to Napa this year.
Yep,
Remember, if you're interested, click the link below and see if this is a fit for you. Gene,
yep.
thank you so much.
Take care.